Hello everybody and welcome back to Synapse. This is Ritika. This is the second video in a series of 3 videos on action potentials. In this video, we shall talk about the action potential in a non-nodal cardiac tissue. In the next video, that is the third video of the series, we shall talk about the action potentials in nodal cardiac tissue. In the previous video, we had spoken about the basics of an action potential and neuronal action potentials. I recommend you to watch that video and come back to this video in order to understand action potentials thoroughly. The link is in the description box. The action potentials generated in the nodal tissue, commonly the SA node, has to be conducted to the entire cardiac muscle mass. From the SA node, the action potential is conducted to the entire atrial muscle mass, and meanwhile it is conducted to the AV node via the intranodal fibers. From the AV node to the bundle of His, to the Purkinje fibers, and to the ventricular muscle mass. This is the pathway of conduction. Let's have a look at the important channels that are involved in this action potential. We have already spoken about the voltage-gated sodium or the fast sodium channels in detail in the previous video. Next, we have the ungated potassium channels, which are always open. This keeps the conductance for potassium very high, thus the resting membrane potential is close to the equilibrium potential of the potassium, which is around minus 95 millivolts. Talking about the inward potassium rectifying channels, referred to as the IK1, it is an voltage-gated channel that opens only at rest. It's very peculiar and you must know this. It closes during depolarization and opens on repolarization. Next, we have the delayed inward rectifying potassium channels, referred to as the IKR. This too is voltage gated, but in contrary to IK1, IKR opens on depolarization. Lastly, we have the involvement of the T-type and the L-type calcium channels, especially the L-type calcium channel. Just for your knowledge, I would want to add here that the T-type calcium channel opens at minus 70 millivolts and the L-type calcium channel opens at minus 40 millivolts. Now that we have understood about the channels, let's look at this action potential and the phases. Phase 0 is the upstroke of the action potential. This is due to the opening of the voltage-gated fast sodium channels. This is the depolarization, and thus we can correlate that this gives rise to the QRS wave in the ECG. By the time this positive potential is reached, the sodium channels go from open to inactivated stage. And then comes the phase 1, which is a slight repolarization due to a transient potassium currents. Phase 2 is a plateau. In this phase, the calcium channels, especially the L-type calcium channels, are open, and also the IKR channels are open, that is the potassium channels are open. So the calcium moves into the cell and the potassium leaves the cell through the respective channels. As this almost balances each other out, we see a plateau. The calcium that is entering the cell triggers the release of more calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum, and this is necessary for the contraction of the muscle. And this phase gives rise to the ST segment of the ECG. Phase 3 is the repolarization phase. The L-type calcium channels begins to close, so the calcium channels begins to close, but the IKR still remains open. The potassium currents continue, and as the repolarization starts, the IK1 channel also opens. This leads to further repolarization. It's very understandable that the phase 3 corresponds to the T wave of the ECG. Finally, we have the phase 4, which is the resting membrane potential, where the fast sodium channels, the calcium channels, and the IKR channels are all closed. Only IK1 channels remain open and maintains a resting membrane potential close to minus 95 millivolts, which is the equilibrium potential for potassium. here I'm done with the video. I hope it was helpful. I hope you understood this really well. Do share the video and do subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. Click on the bell icon and bye-bye. Thank you.